Hello, and welcome to TLC, which stands for Thriving Leader Collaborative Time, TLC time. Hopefully, as you listen week in and week out, it'll be a little tender loving care for you as well. So I'm Terry Short, and I'm here with you this week to talk about self-awareness. So in our last episode, I spoke about the 6 personas of a thriving leader and the 6 pillars of well-being. Again, our mission here at Thriving Leader is to make a greater intersection between the two. And the number one well-being pillar is self-awareness. That's what I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into today. So first of all, what is self-awareness? Self-awareness is the ability to recognize your moods, emotions, drives, and their effect on others. So that's the essence of what self-awareness is. Sometimes I think about people that tell me that they're very self-aware, and I think, okay, well, there's self-aware in that you have some solid feedback loops, and you're confident that how you feel about your moods and your emotions and how you're showing up is indeed what others perceive as well. So no one likes to be delusional. We'd very much like to own and know and be able to deal with in a positive way any moods, emotions, feelings that we're having. And being able to be self-aware about that hinges on eyes wide open. And when I say that, when I say delusional, sort of teasingly, what I'm thinking about is sometimes people have blind spots. They have blind spots that prevent them from truly being self-aware. And we'll talk a little bit about how to overcome that in today's episode. So first, I want to share with you something that a mentor of mine, Quint Studer, whom many of you know, wrote in his book, The Calling, about self-awareness. He wrote, if a person doesn't have self-awareness, it's over. Once we are aware, we are more coachable. This means being willing to listen and implement the lessons. Couldn't agree more. So thank you, Quint, for putting that out there in the universe in your book. That is what I think about when I am a coach. I'm a leadership coach. And so, of course, I get new clients and I'm sort of assess for in the first couple of conversations that we have how truly self-aware they are, because I know at the heart of the matter is their coachability hinges on it. So those are very true words. And I myself, as I've grown to be more self-aware and, leaned into and abolished what my blind spots were and leaned into what my strengths are, I've become more coachable and I continue to evolve in that manner. So it's all about all of us owning where our shortcomings are, really emphasizing our strengths. And we can do that when we're more self-aware, and then becoming more coachable, more knowledgeable, more open to any experience, and that's how we evolve. So that's the why it's important, let's say. And I told you already what it was to have self-awareness. And now let's talk about when it goes awry. So I mentioned that sometimes we have blind spots and we don't have the right feedback loops for saying, I'm self-aware. I believe that I handle these types of things in this manner. I believe that I regulate my emotions well, and I know the types of things that set me off, and I know what to do when that happens. And I might have that perception personally. I also want to know what others think so that I can have the evidence that what I believe about myself is correct. So in the book that I wrote, which is The Words We Choose, Your Guide to How and Why Words Matter, in the section it's actually the section about emotional intelligence. When I talk about self-awareness, I dig deeper into how you know, so how you become more self-aware. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to read you some of the questions. So particularly when you feel that maybe self-awareness is eluding you in some manner, or you're not certain about the validity of your self-awareness, then that's when you want to pause and reflect. And during that reflection, ask yourself some meaningful questions. Heard me say this before. Probing meaningful questions start with what or how. So here are a few that I'd like to share with you. Particularly after something has just occurred, then I might say, what was behind my reaction? Have I had this reaction in the past? And if so, how is it different this time? What's most important to me when this such situation occurs? How do those words or actions relate to my values? Were my words and actions respectful? What would I call that emotion? What am I feeling right now? What's causing me to feel this way? So see, I'm probing, I'm peeling back the layers of what occurred and what I hold in my heart about that occurrence. What might I have done differently or better? Would I use different words in a similar situation? And what would those words be? And who can provide me candid feedback? So when I value that validation of what my thought process is, and I truly want to be self-aware, then I'm going to engage others in the conversation. So let me share with you some questions that I would suggest that you share with others, someone that you trust, maybe someone that you love, and you want to say, hey, I endeavor to be more self-aware. I believe I am, and I'm on this journey to evolve as a human, and I'd love some feedback. Not general feedback, but specific feedback that's born out of asking questions such as these. What emotions did you perceive when I was speaking? How did the words I used impact you? How did you perceive my words aligned with my values? When I communicate, is it clear what my values are? Can you give me a specific example of how I act when I'm sad, happy, frustrated, excited? So what does the other person perceive when they're observing you in action? These are ways in which you can build upon your self-awareness. So first is the personal reflection, the questions that you ask yourself, and the second is when you ask the others. Now, how often are you going to do that? My answer is every day. Now, I might not ask others every day, but I will reflect on the day, on my efforts, on my contribution, on the value that I brought to myself and others every day. So asking some semblance of those questions or some number of those questions. So maybe not all of them, but on any particular day, asking yourself some of those questions. So in episode 1, I talked about some of the key components of self-awareness, and one of them was reflection. Can't stress that enough. If you're not building in time to reflect every day and every week and building upon that reflection, then your self-awareness will stagnate, will be the same level of self-awareness that you've always had. So bake in that reflection time. And maybe you want to have a set time that you reflect big picture, and then also bake in reflection time after a big meeting, after a presentation, so that you're right in the moment when you have had some emotion, some energy around a circumstance. Right in the moment, you're doing that self-awareness reflection. And when you have a presentation or something big that happens, that's also a very good time to ask another person to provide you the feedback, such as the questions that I offered. So that's the reflection time. Also a big fan of journaling. So not everybody likes journaling. Some people say, just don't get it. Like, why would I write down these things? Or I don't have time for it. Well, I want to offer you 2 perspectives on journaling. One is an immediate glimpse at the third component, which is gratitude. It forces you to observe what you're grateful for. It forces you to observe your abundance or the abundance that exists in your life. So that's one form of journaling, is that you momentarily stop, shut out all that's going on around you, and have a moment to reflect and then capture in the journal that which you are grateful for, or an experience that you had, what you learned from it, how you're going to reframe it, so on and so forth. And so that's one way. And the second way is to free write. So to have, maybe you do a guided meditation, or maybe at the end of your day when you're debriefing yourself and you're reflecting on the value that you brought this day, that you center yourself, have a moment of peace and quiet and clearing all the clutter in your mind, and then give honor to what comes up for you. So that's what you would journal. It's just free writing what it is that is coming up for you. And maybe it leads to something else that you'd like to pay more attention to tomorrow, or it also would include what you're grateful for, and so on and so forth. So your choices are to free write, just let it flow, or to prompt yourself and to have a certain thing that you reflect on every day, and you note that thing, such as gratitude or abundance, and you note that thing every day. I'm a huge fan of the actual journal that, turn the page and write things down, and then the look back, even a decade later, is great fun. Super scary sometimes, but great fun. It's a way to see how you grow and change and evolve. That's the long version. The short version for me is I use an app called Day One. Love this app. And Day One, I use the free version currently, might upgrade at some point, but I'm able to put a picture that captures the essence of the day, something that I was out doing, and I'm able to put a few lines, and I'm able to save that. Someday I could print it off. And so I find value in capturing things on my phone, right? So there's an app for that, and I think it's brilliant. So Day One was the app, and then there's the hard journaling. And then the third component of self-awareness that we talked about last week is gratitude. And I've already mentioned that you intentionally bake in ways in which you are reflecting on what you're grateful for and the abundance in your life every day, at least once a day. And why is that? That's self-awareness. That's you saying, whoa, look around. This is my life. And these are the things that are going well. These are the positives. This is what I'm proud of. Finding the way to pull it all together and create a grateful moment for yourself. Can't stress that enough. And that's the foundation of you being self-aware. So I hope this has been helpful, and you can find some resources. As a matter of fact, the one fun resource I invite you to do is, last week we talked about the assessment for the 6 personas of a thriving leader. This week, I invite you to take the other assessment for the 6 pillars of well-being. And so again, there are 6 pillars, and each has 6 questions. It'll be pretty quick for you to go through and to get a rating for each of those. It's a way to self-reflect as well, right? Because it's a self-assessment that you're doing. So have fun with it, and I look forward to any comments, any curiosity, any questions that you have. Please drop them in the comments, and I will see you next week.